We love getting your questions, so we want you to keep them coming via Facebook, Twitter, and on our webpage. Who knows, we might just answer your question here in the studio audience next. Welcome back to the Daily Helpline. We're here with actor J.R. Martinez, and joining us now on stage is Tony. Now, Tony had a bad accident a few months ago, and he's come to us with a question. So, Tony, tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Back in April, I was cooking something on the stove, and I had a pot of hot grease, and I was pouring that grease from one pot to another, and the grease dribbled down and hit the burner on the stove, and it flashed up and exploded in my face, and when I jerked back, the grease hit my hand, and it burned my hand pretty severely, and I had skin graft done about a week later, and it's just, it's not as functional as it used to be. But beyond that, I'm real self-conscious about it. Now, you wouldn't think so because I got all kinds of other stuff going on. That, you know, I mean, I'm not a good-looking guy. I'm losing my hair, you know. And
Hey, whoa. Let's be sensitive. Let's be sensitive about the hair thing.
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
And I hear you on that. I know there's a lot going on, but I don't want to overlook the skin graft piece because what that means is that there was a third-degree burn.
It was a third-degree burn. It was down to the muscle.
All the way down to the muscles, killed all the nerves, which means it was irreparable and you had to pull skin from somewhere else on your body.
They took it from my right hip.
Yeah, it's one of the more painful procedures.
I'm going to tell you, that right hip was as painful as the hand for about 3 or 4 weeks. That's not something that you think about when you think about a skin graft. It is the donor area, but that donor area...
The donor area is worse than the actual area that was burned itself, yeah.
This here was just after the operation. Now, the worst part is right here where it goes between my index finger and my thumb. There's a very thick scarring that feels like a steel cable across there, and I can't extend my hand as far as I used to, and I can't close my hand as far as I used to. The web spacing, and I ride a motorcycle, and it's very painful to throttle on a motorcycle.
And now, do you find yourself hiding your hand from others?
Yeah, and you know, this is another thing you wouldn't think about me, but I date a lot, and you know, I have to get past all this to get a woman to go out with me, and this right here is what bothers me. You want to hold a woman's hand, and there's, you know, you can feel it if you're a woman, and you can see it if you're a woman, and for me, it makes me very self-conscious about, you know.
Well, I think it's important to Tony. I think it's important to take notice that it's only been a few months. It's still very early in the process, and you know, I understand. Obviously, my hands were grafted, both of my hands. I understand the web spacing. My injury was in 2000.
I didn't realize you had a web spacing burn.
Yeah, I have web spacing all around. I mean, I have issues. I had the same graft. I had, you know, my injury, the graft here in my thumb, between my thumb and my index finger.
You mind if I look at your hand?
No, absolutely. Touch. And
this
my
looks like
injury.
See this thick part right here?
This is thick scarring. It's
yeah,
thick scarring.
I'm having that go right across here, and it stops my hand from opening up.
So here I am, you know, 2003, this is when this happened to me. And we're talking about 2013, last year in February, that I had to still go back and have a release done. I had to have a surgery done. What I have to tell you is that because of the fact that you're still in the early stages of it, you know, I have seen my hands through a lot of therapy, through a lot of patience, through a lot of work, through having to, you know, just dealing with it and saying it is what it is, man, is I have been able to get to a place that my therapist, my own occupational therapist, never thought that my hands would be able to do that. But what I'm saying to you more importantly is that, you know, you're still 3 months into it, and it takes time for that tissue to ultimately kind of set. It takes time for it to kind of mold. It takes time for it to kind of stretch to as far as it's going to stretch. But with constant work, I had to wear a C-bar splint for a long time to kind of keep my thumb in that position.
Really?
And it took time, and it was frustrating because, of course, you want to get back to doing the things like riding your motorcycle normally like you did before.
We've talked about the physical part, but I want you to talk about the emotional part.
Absolutely.
What we're coming into.
Well, you know, I was 19 years old when this happened to me, so of course I wanted to date every girl that you were dating, you know, and apparently you're getting all of them, not me. It was hard for me to get to a place of being able to, you know, to touch a woman, to feel like the woman's gonna touch me back, and not in kind of a, you know, not with that kind of like disgust and not that kind of like hesitation of wanting to like, do I really want to touch this guy's hand? Do I want to touch his arms? Do I want to touch his back? Do I want to touch a little bit of his chest? Do I want to touch his face? Do I want to touch his head? There's all of those questions. The first time that I was in that position where I was with the girl and it was like, okay, now I'm on the opposite end. Is she gonna call me back after she's seen these scars? Is she gonna not be grossed out by these scars? And I had to slowly, it's a process, man, and it's hard and it's difficult, but you have to develop a mentality, not kind of in a snobby way, in an arrogant way, but to kind of say, I really don't care about what other people think. And if there's a young lady that doesn't want to touch my hand, then you know what? That's her, and it's okay. And yeah, it's a constant reminder for me, but I have to believe and know that there's going to be another lady that's going to have no problem touching my hand, no problem holding my hand, no problem giving me the massages, because that's when you know you got a good girl, is when she's willing to say, I'm telling you, because as a burn survivor, you need massages.
One of the crucial steps people miss when there's been some type of physical alteration is accepting your reality, your new reality. And the fastest way to accept your reality is allow other people into your reality. So be vulnerable. Tell people, you just shared that with him, share that with the next girl you tell. You know what, I'm insecure about my hand. Disclose it, and I think you'll begin to feel more comfortable, and they will too. I really appreciate you sharing with us today.
Thank you so much for talking to me, and I really appreciate
that hand.
Oh, see, I didn't want to do it because I'm a man, but there's a beautiful woman doing it. That's what I'm saying. That's what
And he calls me
I
beautiful.
appreciate that.
Thank you, Tony.
you got guns.
And we
You
want to
are
thank
beautiful, but you
JR
got
for being
guns.
here with us today and sharing his stories. He did an amazing job. Thank you, guys. Guys, stick around. You're not going to want to miss what's up next.
We love getting your questions, so we want you to keep them coming via Facebook, Twitter, and on our webpage. Who knows, we might just answer your question here in the studio audience next.